scene is set at Club Gemini. Adrian is troubled tonight. He cannot focus as he perhaps should. He was supposed to attend some meets, some function. He believes it was supposed to be something to do with a band. He cannot recall. He is deeply perturbed, or more mundanely, he is disturbed, emotionally conflicted. He does not know what to do. It was something he saw. He doesn't know how to rationalize it, why it affected him so. No, that is a lie. He knows full well how to rationalize it. He knows full well for his discomfort, for his way of being currently. It has to do with a simple fact. Adrian, as a boy, when he was born, his mother died of childbirth, complications during birth, beyond control. There was nothing that could be done, nothing that could be used to save her, no method, no medicine. She bled out. The doctors tried, supposedly. It was him or her, and she chose that he was more important than her own life. His father never let him live that down, never let him forget, never forgave him for it ever. His father did become a drunkard, blamed him for it every day. He wishes for no pity when, even to himself, he admits he was abused for it. Not sexually, but emotionally, often physically. What he saw that brought all this to the forefront was a mother visiting her daughter at the college. He was transfixed by it. In fact, if not for some man who had bumped into him on the street and knocked him over, he would likely still be standing there, staring. The mother had been hugging her daughter closely, affectionately. Smiles had been on their face. The mother had kissed her daughter's cheeks before wishing her well. That was torture to him. That was hell. Something he had craved his entire existence as a mortal man. Compassion, love, desire, proximity, simple warmth. Something he had craved, now long from his reach. After all, how was a dead man supposed to feel any of this? How was a dead man supposed to feel emotion? He portrayed the stoic, cold businessman. A man who saw everything as business, everything as an investment, everything somewhere, something. Everything was black and white. Yet, he could not focus on that. Emotions inside him tore him rampant. He sat there, gazing into oblivion, into a shadow in the corner of the club for ages. In truth, it was probably no more than 10 minutes. He couldn't tell. He chose a seat in the far back of the club just because of his disposition, just because he knew something was troubling him. He didn't want to be seen. He didn't want to risk the masquerade. His life, as one may call it. But he stood and, well, sat in the back, a drink before him, untouched. He couldn't drink it, though right now he wished to God he could. Something to soothe him, to dull his senses. He, as I said, he knew full well why he felt this way. He understood it. He didn't want to. And you can make your own conclusions, I'm sure. Being a Toreador, he was doubly damned for what we crave and want for in life, that which we deny ourselves in life, will haunt us in death. In the Toreador's case, it was doubly so. He tried to deny himself his thoughts as long as possible. In truth, that lasted perhaps an hour. He very quickly made his way out of the club, laying cash on counter for the bartender for his untouched beverage. Found himself a cab and driven to Oakwood. He went to the cemetery where his mother was buried. He stood outside of it, unable to enter. He came here often enough as a man before the embrace. After the embrace, he had only returned once. Some nights after his embrace. The first night he got free of his sire. I say free as though he fled. No, this was the first night he had to himself. The first night he felt he could be himself. He could not enter the cemetery. Not yet. It was a large and well-maintained place. Very nice. But he did not feel as if he was showing proper respect. He did often come here, as was said. Sometimes suggest lay out a blanket beside his mother's grave and sit there. He sometimes deluded himself into feeling as though she may be watching him from above or wherever we go. He would sometimes bring flowers or apologize for costing her her life. He knew the keeper fairly well. They were on a first-name basis at the least. Beyond this, he never spoke of his personal life to the keeper. He never spoke of much more than his first name or his purpose for coming here. And even so, he never allowed the keeper to notice which grave he went to. He always made sure the man was not paying attention or was otherwise busy. Adrian abandoned the cemetery for now. He went down the street seeking a vendor. He knew where he would be. He He always came here at night when he would be alone. No one would see him. He bought himself a small bouquet of flowers. Cost him $20. The vendor wished to cheat him out of money. Adrian was in no mood or disposition to haggle with the man. He paid him the 20. He walked his way, equal parts anxious and hesitant to enter the grave area. It was cold. Not just in temperature, though he could not feel it, but the very atmosphere was a cold one. Yes, the grave was nicely maintained, but he always felt unease here. Perhaps the memories it stirred, perhaps the thoughts it stirred, perhaps guilt, perhaps the self-loathing. Could be any number of reasons. For all he knew, some spirit watched him, just inches from his face, every time he appeared there, every time he was there, just to make him feel ill at ease, just to feed from his discomfort. Preposterous. Though, some months ago he would have said the existence of vampires was preposterous, he never would have believed it. What was to say ghosts didn't exist? Though he had never seen evidence. But had he ever seen evidence of kindred? Who could say? But no, he did not believe in such fairy tales. He moved to find the keeper, whom he paid a sum of $50, and with use of his presence, quickly convinced the man to go outside of the cemetery and give him his peace. Keep anyone from entering while he visited the long dead. Once the man was gone, Adrian approached the grave. Slowly, his paces hesitant, each foot touching the soil as though he were afraid of breaking it and it would shatter as glass under his weight. His composure fell like water. His stoic, cold, calculative demeanor vanished. Anyone who had ever met Adrian, his sire even, would not recognize the man before him, this scared child of a man, terrified, alone, desperate. Even as he stood before the grave, he was unsure what he should say, if he should say anything. His body, even dead, shook. His eyes watered with tears of blood that he blinked away. Death, the embrace, had not washed away the sorrow within his heart, not purged the demons from his mind or his soul, if he even had one. He did not know. No, the embrace had only made his inner demons louder, given them voice, given them substance. Sometimes he felt it would drive him mad. He hid it well, he supposed. In truth, he was so used to his mask, he often wondered, which was the real Adrian? The emotionless, cold businessman, or the emotionally distraught man who longed for things now well beyond grasp? In life, he craved love. He wanted warmth, something to melt the icy shell around him. Someone to hold him. Childish, yes. But he wanted it so badly as a man. But his paranoia denied him all. Fear of being hurt, betrayed, robbed, any number of reasons. Some of them preposterous. Some of them far-fetched, to the point the ghosts seemed more a likely probability than what would have gone through his head at the time. He had been propositioned by several women, of course. He was a man of fair attractiveness, though he would not boast it. But he always denied them, always let his fear, his paranoia win over in the end. It left him only his work. Now he craved for much the same he had as a man. But how did one who did not even breathe any longer hope for such? So he had focused on his work, just as he does now. And now, standing before a grave with bouquet of roses in hand, grave of his mortal mother, his sire, a mother in his own right. She was a mother, but more of an investor. She, as the Camarilla, had invested in him, seen to make investment in him, and it was his duty to ensure they prospered from it. His mouth hung open, but no words came out, choosing instead to simply place a hand upon the gravestone and lay the roses down on the grave, his fingers gripping the cold stone tightly, the other rising to his face to clench the bridge of his nose, fighting away tears. He could feel the beast clawing at his soul, demanding release as his emotions roiled out of control. He denied it as best he could. He repeated again and again as a mantra, he wasn't a monster. He isn't a monster. But inside, he knew he was an undead blood drinker, a nightmare to mortal men. What should I do? He choked with a sob, seeking some guidance from his mother, who no doubt couldn't hear him. What should I do? He bellowed, wrenching his hand clear from his face, knocking aside his glasses, who fell to the floor in the dirt. Without able to control his actions, he struck the gravestone, denting it with his fist, dislocating fingers, cutting his knuckles profusely. Cradling his hand, he hissed, baring his fangs to the sky, wanting God, the devil, or some higher power to give him solace, give him guidance. His sire taught him the ways of kindred, but not his place in that world. This world of darkness, of Machiavellian politics, his sire taught him the ways of kindred. Yes, not his place in it, not his place in their world. He had no path. She had merely embraced him, and he was expected to accept, without question, his newfound place, unknowing of where he belonged in it. Using his newfound power of his blood, he healed his hand, restoring it, making it whole once again, sneering at the sight as if it disgusted him. when in truth he was only angry at his place, a place of confusion on the edge of a blade. To one edge, he felt humanity cry out for him, his mother's voice as he knew it to be from the old home videos his father had watched when he thought Adrian to be asleep. And he thought he wouldn't hear the man cry. Her laughs, her speaking of her coming child, the baby boy she wanted so desperately to meet. And she chose his name on camera, Adrian Darling Cruel. It tormented him. But that edge of the blade was a man he at one point believed to be who he truly was. And the other side of the blade, the one he had always thought to be the mask, the cold businessman, the famed one now, who saw a need now to position himself securely among kindred to ensure his own survival and status. As he knew, he was fully aware he did not know which side of him was truly the one he was any longer. He had not known for some time, even as a man. Balancing himself on the edge was wearing him thin. Months he had been trying to hold himself on that edge, but soon that would change. The blade's edge seemed to get sharper and harder to stand on by the day. He stepped away from the grave, gathered his glasses from the ground and slid them up the bridge of his nose with his ring finger before leaving the cemetery silently, the only evidence of his presence being the roses on the grave, the aching pain in his dead heart. But then, perhaps that was the mask. Soon he might know. Soon.